and welcome to another lunar forecast, this time for the full moon in Scorpio, happening on Sunday, May 31st at 1:44 a.m. Pacific time. So you'll be able to see it the night before, Saturday night, and Sunday night it'll still be pretty full at that point. So on this channel, we're using True Sky, True Sidereal Astrology, which is a mirror reflection of what's actually in the sky, the natural visible sky. So the signs are going to be different if you're someone who follows tropical or Vedic astrology. The signs are different because they do not use the natural sky and the natural size of the constellations and the 13th sign on the ecliptic Ophiuchus. So welcome if you're new to my channel, and thank you to my subscribers. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you tuning in. So Astrology Mystica is an approach to astrology that is very much from the inside. Of course, anything that begins in the inner world translates into the outer world. But my approach to astrology is to support people who are on a mystical journey of knowing who they are and coming in contact, going on the adventure, on the quest to discover their own totally unique destiny as designed by nature, because we're all a part of nature. And your birth chart, your natal chart, is your totally unique design, your gift from nature. And it contains the seed of your destiny and information about your very specific contribution to make to this incredible, mysterious existence. And Astrology Mystica is to support that journey. It can be also used for transitions and changes and events that are happening in your outer life as a way of mirroring what's going on above, as above, so below, as within, so without. But this is very much of a spiritual, cosmic way of working with astrology. So anyway, let's get down to it. So we began this lunar month with a new moon in Taurus that happened on May 16th. And this was the beginning of the new lunar year, because the last new moon we had previous to that, actually the last two new moons previous to that, were in Pisces, because Pisces is such a long constellation, such a large constellation. So because the moon only takes 29 approximately days to do one circle of the zodiac, and because Pisces is over 40 degrees, we had two new moons in Pisces. So there was a lot of completion happening in April and May, but particularly March and April with those two Pisces new moons. So when we entered into May, our new moon on May 16th in Taurus was sort of the technical beginning of the new year, you could say. We were coming out of all that deep Pisces energy that involves a lot of letting go and cultivating compassion for ourselves and for others, and really finding a very true, authentic soul connection with life that comes from within us. So this full moon now is, the energy has been building since May 16th, since that beautiful new moon in Taurus that was bringing in a whole new beginning in terms of how we value ourselves, how we value what's in our lives, what supports us, the ways in which we feel comforted, the ways in which we have connected with our body. And Taurus brings in a very earthy flavor to this lunar cycle, to this lunar month. So as the energy's been building and the moon has been passing through the various signs, it takes about 14 days from the new moon to reach the full moon. So here we are at the full moon in Scorpio. And the full moon is always opposite the sun. So we can see on the chart here that the moon is at 8 degrees of Scorpio. And the sun is opposite to that at the bottom of the chart at 18 degrees of Taurus, and has recently passed over Uranus. About a week previous, the sun was passing over Uranus. So this can be a very electrifying time. It amplifies our need for freedom and our awareness of where we don't feel free, and gives us an opportunity to have that clarity. So as we're coming into this full moon in Scorpio, there's been a process of illuminating and showing us the ways in which we haven't been feeling free, and also the new direction that's opening up to bring us into a deeper sense of freedom. And I feel that Uranus plays a very important role also in this full moon, because Taurus and Scorpio are the polarities of each other. So as the energy's been building towards the Scorpio full moon, Scorpio is a water sign, Taurus is an earth sign. Taurus is about much more the material world, what we possess, what we own, our relationship with our bodies, our comfort, our sensuality, and also what we value deeply, what is very dear to our heart. And so as it approaches the Scorpio climax of this full moon, Scorpio brings a lot of depth and vulnerability to what we've been seeing and what we've been experiencing since this new moon began. And my feeling of it is that this deep level of vulnerability that Scorpio brings us in contact with, because Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, and Pluto has to do with our evolution as a soul. And so it's the deepest contact that we make in a certain way with ourselves, where the vulnerability is revealed to us and we feel it. It's not just an intellectual experience, it's a physical, sensory, feeling experience. And my understanding of this polarity is that it has a lot to do with the idea of armoring and vulnerability. So Scorpio kind of contains both to me. When we come into this world very vulnerable, completely vulnerable, we're dependent on other people to take care of us for everything. And we have no boundaries. We're completely open, fresh. I mean, you can see it when you see babies and children. They're fresh, they're open, and vulnerable. So there's been an experience of a certain level of vulnerability in this particular lunar cycle that may be showing us the ways in which we began protecting ourselves as children from this vulnerability through early childhood experiences of, shock and trauma, things happening in our world when we were very young that we were not able to process because we didn't understand what was happening. We didn't have the skills to deal with the situation, but yet we were aware of the fact that it wasn't enjoyable, that it might have been frightening or painful, and caused us to have an experience of contracting within ourselves. And a lot of times when we have that experience, we create a boundary to protect ourselves from the world because we've now discovered that it can be a painful, frightening place, and that the people that we may have counted on and our caretakers, our parents, whoever they may be, that they also are capable of hurting us, even though that may not be their intention. But they have their own ways of doing things that they can put onto us as children. And so we discover at a very young age that it's not safe to be who we are. It's not safe to be totally open, that we have to cultivate some kind of protection. And this is natural. This is important that this happens so that we can start to develop a sense of who we are, and then also in contrast to what's outside of us. But a lot of this takes place in the body. When these shocks happen at an early age, a lot of this vulnerability that we experience and the protection and the boundaries that we create in response to that happen in the body. And these can be places in the body then as we get older that are, in a sense, frozen or stuck, depending on the situation. And this is called armoring, where to protect our innate vulnerability, we create protection around ourselves that over time becomes a form of armoring. And not only does it keep other people away and protect us from other people, but it also inhibits and can inhibit our own experience of our own vulnerability and getting back to that place of feeling completely relaxed and at ease with who we are, with our bodies, and with life itself. So I feel this Scorpio full moon is giving us the opportunity to see where our energy has become stagnant. And this will show up a lot in the body because we're on the Taurus Scorpio axis. So the body will show you the places where the energy is stuck. And with this illumination in the constellation of Scorpio, about 6 degrees before we hit Ophiuchus, who is conjunct with Black Moon Lilith, we have an opportunity to feel our own vulnerability and to allow that to be revealed to us. It's really a beautiful thing. I mean, animals in nature are completely vulnerable. They just are what they are, they just are true to their nature, true to their design. And that's why we love them so much, because there's no boundaries with them. There's no ego structure in the way. We have total vulnerability with our animals, and I think that's why people love their animals so much, because we can be the magical child with our animals. We don't need to put on or have any protection. But we can also return to that state. And I feel like this mysterious journey on Earth is very much about that we come in this state, we develop these boundaries, this armoring in order to survive the human experience. And then at a certain point, we start to see, as we start to know ourselves more, we start to see that we don't need these protections anymore. And now they're actually not serving us. They're inhibiting the body from being relaxed and healthy. They're inhibiting us from enjoying life and enjoying who we are and honoring our totally unique design. And this Scorpio moon's an opportunity, just through awareness and the feeling level that we have, the deep feeling level, to integrate some of these places that have been kept in the dark, that have been frozen, and to very gently and compassionately honor the experiences that we've had in the past, but to also, with our current present time awareness, acknowledge what we don't need anymore in terms of protection, because Scorpio is a very protective sign, and it's protecting the deepest level of vulnerability that we have. But as this full moon moves forward, it's going to come in contact in a fucus with Black Moon Lilith, which has a lot to do with what we have had to suppress in order to survive, what we've been taught to suppress, and all the ideas and all the social norms that we've forced ourselves to fit into or have been forced to fit into, all the rules and regulations that are dictated by others that are not true for us, for our unique experience. This is a very deep, healing full moon. And as the moon moves through a fucus, my experience of a fucus is that is really when we have the opportunity to sit with whatever process we're in, to honor the deep level of vulnerability that we're experiencing. And vulnerability, because of the nature of it, because of the realness of it, the rawness of it, can really trigger the mind to getting very negative. The mind can come in when we're feeling the most vulnerable and really start, because remember, the mind is created by society, right? It's just a set of ideologies. It doesn't actually exist. It's just a voice that we internalized from everything we got from the outside, from other people. So my experience is when you're really in a very deep, vulnerable space, the mind can come in at that time and take advantage of the opportunity to really put you in your place. And it can throw every negative idea, every fear, every judgment that you've been carrying, it can throw it right back at you at that time. So it's really important to stay aware of that and to stay aware of the body's experience in present time and to stay tuned into your body. And just know that when you start dipping into these deeply vulnerable places in yourself, that this is the death of the ego. This is the death of the mind, because the ego and the mind are that armoring that we have all created in this natural process called life, the human experience. And when the time comes for them to die and dissolve back into wholeness, there can be resistance from the mind. There can be resistance from the ego. Even though it's not real, society has made it very secure for us to have this false sense of self in order to be loved, in order to fit in. And it can become part of who we think we are, even though it's not. So I guess what I'm saying is, during this full moon, especially with this opposition to Uranus, if you find your mind really acting up and giving you a hard time, just know that that's because this protection, this armoring that is connected with the mind is dissolving. And so it's much more in your awareness because there's focus on it. And just be really compassionate and loving to yourself and stay in present time with whatever you're experiencing. And remember that whatever the mind says to you is what is contained in the armoring that has been preventing you from experiencing yourself at this deep level of vulnerability that you're now ready to experience and reclaim. Okay, so I think we have the Scorpio picture there. Scorpio is a very beautiful sign that really gives us an opportunity to know who we are in the deepest way. And the other things that I see going on here, there's so much going on in this chart, as you can tell by all these red and blue lines, all these aspects. But, you know, the moon is also square to the north node and it's square to the south node. These are the axis of our evolution. And the moon being square to those can create a feeling that we're not on track, that emotionally we're out of alignment with our destiny or with who we are. But again, this is an opportunity because this is coming from the mind. This is an opportunity again to see that that is not the case. That this is, when you're growing, when you're evolving, there's a lot of death involved. And again, this is the Scorpio energy. Phases come to an end, you know, experiences come to an end, and aspects of us that are no longer needed also come to an end. And this is part of the death energy of Scorpio, that it's in the process of transformation. And in order for that to happen, we have to see what's finished, what no longer serves us, what's no longer true for us, because we're in a constant state of growth. We don't stay the same from one second to the next. But it's a matter of allowing ourselves to be alive and to be growing and to not force ourselves to be confined into some idea from the past or the expectations of others or our own expectations. So to me, that's what these squares are speaking to. An opportunity to have a new vision, a new experience of who we are. And we have a lot of support here to go into this process with the moon trine to Neptune and Saturn in Pisces. This gives us a lot of compassion, a lot of capacity to come in contact with a much deeper level of compassion for ourselves and for others and for the world. It changes our perception. Saturn and Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, is transforming our perception and giving us an opportunity to see things in a much deeper way. So this is very harmonious with the process that's going on with the Scorpio full moon. And it's giving us a lot of support to bring this new experience of ourselves, this deeper experience, and to give us the strength and the discipline to take care of ourselves the way we need to take care of ourselves. We also have, I'm looking here at Venus and Venus is in a sextile to Mars. Venus is in Gemini there at the bottom of the chart at 16 degrees, and Mars is there at 7 degrees of Aries, and there's a sextile between them, which is a great opportunity for the feeling of being very balanced with our left and right brain, balanced with our inner relationship between the male and the female aspects of ourselves, and our heart, you could say, and our action energy. There's an opportunity here to have some experiences that are coming from the heart and moving outward into the world from there. There could also be some very interesting experiences between men and women. You know, if you're in a relationship or just in life in general. With Mars being in Aries, he's very at home there. So there's a certain kind of courage and dynamic enthusiasm that Mars, the warrior, has in Aries. The thing to look out for with Mars in Aries is that there can be a feeling of impatience and, you know, I want it now, and impulsiveness and also aggressiveness. So the more balancing of this is the Venus energy coming in Gemini and offering and being able to perceive things from both sides, having a more balanced perspective and being able to communicate from the heart is a very beautiful aspect of Venus here in Gemini. And Jupiter there, she's approaching Jupiter at 25 degrees in Gemini. And Jupiter's been in Gemini here for a long time, really bringing in blessings, good fortune, and opportunities through our willingness to learn and grow and to connect with our expression and our communication, and to find new ways of expressing and communicating that bring blessings into our life instead of bringing conflict into our life. So he's teaching us how to communicate in ways where we can expand our experience and where we can express ourselves through joy, through gratitude, through wonder at the mystery of life. And Venus is approaching Jupiter and will be passing over Jupiter now within the next week. So we may feel a really beautiful, expanded experience in our heart coming into the end of the first week of June. So we can keep an eye out for that. We have Mercury also in Taurus, right on the cusp at 36 degrees, about to also enter into Gemini. So Mercury's very happy in Gemini, and we may find that our communication skills improve dramatically, that we have more clarity internally about what we're feeling, that we're able to express it more clearly, that we're able to actually put language on it, which is, you know, with this Scorpio, this super deep Scorpio energy, it can be very challenging to communicate this and express this. But right after this full moon, as Mercury moves into Gemini, we're going to find our voice with this, and from a new perspective, and be able to, if we choose to, give expression to what we've experienced during this very powerful, transformative full moon. So other than that, I mean, we've got Pluto's sextile to the full moon, and lending support. Pluto's retrograde right now in Capricorn, lending support to this process of possibly, going back to situations, to memories. As he's retrograde, he's giving us access to the past experiences that may have caused this armoring, this protection that we're now ready to feel and release and integrate and heal, so that we can reclaim our magical child, our freedom, our sense of safety in the universe, and our ability to honor the totally unique design that we are, that we came here to experience, and that there is no comparison between us and any other soul. That's the dignity that the universe gives all its creations. Everything is completely unique and has its own. It's like we all are little universes unto ourselves. And that's why it's so important not to ever compare ourselves to anybody else, because there is no comparison. We have to find our own way. We have to trust our own inner voice and be a light unto ourselves. And that's what Pluto is supporting here, for us to really deepen this experience of being a light unto ourselves and to share that, to be able to stand in the vulnerability, to be able to feel it, to honor it, the strength of it, and that the true power is in vulnerability, not in the protection against it. But we have to reach a certain level of maturity, a certain level of knowing who we are, a certain level of being connected to the cosmos. And once we have that grounding and that foundation, which Saturn and Neptune have been helping us to build over the last couple of years to strengthen what we've already created, then we can live with this vulnerability just like children do, but with a deep sense of who we are and our connection to the universe and our destiny and what we've come here to experience and to share, and how beautiful that is, and the gift of life, that life is a gift. So, all in all, very powerful, transformational full moon. And just take it at your own pace. Be sensitive to yourself and others, because everyone's going to be feeling this sensitivity, and everyone protects themselves in different ways. And just enjoy the liberation, this opposition to Uranus, the liberation potential that you can make actual if you're willing to consciously embrace a deeper level of vulnerability and love for who you are. So thanks so much for joining me, and until the next lunar forecast, sending out lots of love to whoever's listening to this right now. And if you're interested in my readings, I do natal readings, transit and progress chart readings. You can check out my website, cosmicmystics.club. Ciao for now.